Wow, folks. Sometimes when I see articles like this, and I understand that there's all these people, like I say, when you're talking about people in the media or this Hussen or Trudeau, at the very least, I mean, we can throw out the insults. Everybody does it. Insults everyone nowadays, right? That's the go-to thing to do, right? Like, let's just call everyone idiots. But you know what? To be honest with you, none of these people are truly idiots. I would imagine most of them have at least enough brain power and capacity to think about most things, even somewhat objective or critically. So when I read these articles, there's always something underlying in my head that makes me think, like I say, I would love to be able to give them the excuse that they're just naive, ignorant to facts, have brains of adolescents that just don't know how to think critically in some manner, in some regard. I would love to be able to afford them some kind of excuse for the kind of rhetoric they espouse. But at the end of the day, like I say, I can't help but think, right down to my core, that these people, I won't use the word evil. Because like I said, if I don't know personally, if I don't know these people as an individual, I don't know their history enough. Like I say, I don't make false accusations towards people without having enough evidence to do so. So I'll leave the personal attacks out of this equation completely and entirely. Not towards Trudeau and not towards this Hussen. But once again, when I read these articles, which I'm going to do, and you're going to hear my kind of pushback, what I got to say about this, but this is very disturbing to me. Very disturbing. Headline out of CBC News Politics. Hussen unveils plan to attract, retain skilled immigrants in rural and remote regions. Pilot aims to fill labor gaps as communities across Canada face youth exodus, aging population. This being reported by Kathleen Harris, January 24th, 2019. So let me just say first and foremost, I am someone from those rural communities. I was born and raised in central New Brunswick in a very rural community. And there are a lot of rural communities. And I grew up and knew friends and had family members from many of those rural communities that Hussen here would be talking about. And let me tell you, all of us, each successive generation that have had to leave those provinces because central planning, big government, cronyism, corruption, and economic malfeasance, we didn't want to. I'm going to tell you, just for myself, I'll speak for myself. I did not choose to leave New Brunswick because I don't like the province. I chose it. I chose to leave it because there's economic viability is almost impossible except for a few tiny segments of the economy. Truck driving was one of the few areas that you could be viable economically and still live in that part of the country without succumbing to being part of big government. It was one of the few areas in the private sector where you could generate and maintain enough economic activity and income that you could live in that place, even at the ridiculous prices for a lot of things. You could at least achieve enough of an income that you could survive and thrive in that part of the country. It wasn't easy. It was definitely difficult, but it was something that could be done. But for most areas of the economy, people realized that no, you had to travel elsewhere in Canada. And it's not because, once again, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. So for Hussen to say that they need to bring in what, immigrants? Let me tell you, Hussen, these people that you're talking about are my fucking family members, my grandparents. Heck, even my parents, my aunts and uncles, a lot of the people from the boomer and older generations, these people, like I say, and they're getting to the point where they're definitely going to need some help. But why in the fuck does Hussen think that they need to bring in foreigners, complete strangers, to create some kind of economic viability or take care of these people on the East Coast or these have-not provinces? No, there's lots of us out here, like I say, we would love to be back there taking care of our aging and elderly parents and grandparents. But we've been shown time and time again that the central planners, the big government hacks, and those in government, and all those who represent that bureaucratic state, the mindless order followers, every single one of them, right down to the lowly fucking clerks, they've shown time and time again that they're more than willing to throw, like I say, the people that are from that place, born and raised, with a heritage and a history in that particular area, they're more than willing to, like I say, throw people like us under the bus. I would love to live back there. I'd love to be able to create a business back there. Government has made that impossible for me and a whole lot of other people like me. But yeah, Hussen saying, no, instead of creating a situation where there's some actual free trade in our country, take off all these fucking ridiculous regulations and restrictions and what it means to even try to create a viable business in that province. If there was some free market fundamentals, trust me, you would watch that part of the province. I've watched like natural gas extraction, like fracking, mining. I've seen every time somebody comes up with a business model, Energy East, every time somebody comes up with a business model to create some economic vibrance or activity in that part of the country, these central planners like this dipshit find a way to intervene and say, no, sorry, we can't do that. So no, you can't go back there, but we'll bring in some fucking legal immigrants or people from halfway around the world, mostly from like really southern warm climates, and we'll send them over to these really, really, really cold climates that they're not used to or accustomed to by any stretch of the imagination. We'll send them there to do what? To do what? Yeah, I'm getting hot under the collar because this kind of shit pissed me off. But let me just continue on here, folks. But I'm telling you, if you're Canadian and you give a shit, especially if you're from the East Coast, my God, you really have to start doing something because, well, if not, I feel sorry not for you, not just for you, but for your successive generations. You have no idea what you're doing by allowing this much central planning and manipulation of the social and economic lives of millions of Canadians. You have no idea the detriment that you're causing by your complacency and your conformity and your unwillingness to speak up. The Liberal government is launching a new pilot program aimed at attracting and retaining skilled immigrants in Canada's rural and northern communities, places that are grappling with labor gaps due to a youth exodus and aging population. Why is there a youth gap and aging population there? Once again, you watch. You're not going to read any of this contained within the article, so you know that this is political rhetoric. I'm telling you why there's an exodus. Talk to anyone that's from the East Coast. Talk to anyone that's from New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, or PEI. Ask any of those people why the fuck they left their province, and they'll tell you the same reason why I'm telling you. The same reason why my parents have done it. The same reason why aunts and uncles and a lot of people, my friends, neighbors, the same reason why a lot of them, whether they go to Ontario or Alberta or Saskatchewan, the reason why they travel to many different areas of the country that they don't even have any relation to relatives out there. They do it because they want to become economically viable and take care of their family. Of course they would love to do it on the East Coast, but once again, big government has prevented them from even having the capacity to do so. And yet, Hussen here suggesting that these illegals, these people that are not even part of that community, never been part of that community, don't even know anyone from that community, but they're somehow going to magically fix what the Canadian people who desperately would love to be back there. We're just all so fucking stupid. We don't know what to do, but these immigrants that Hussen wants to bring here, they're going to fix all of our problems, folks. That's what Hussen is suggesting. And rather than you being able to take care of your aging or elderly grandmother or grandfather, Hussein's saying, no, you just can't do it. Sorry, Canada, but you guys and girls, sorry, y'all suck too bad. We're going to have to bring in these migrants, these immigrants, and they'll be able to do it. And I'm sure your parents would be much more appreciative to have these complete strangers take care of them than you, right? Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussen announced the pilot today in Sudbury, Ontario. Most newcomers to Canada settle in big cities such as Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver under existing federal economic immigration programs. Hussen said this pilot will encourage skilled workers and their families to set down roots in the communities that need them most. The federal government will work directly with communities and with groups that help newcomers with employment, language training, and other social assistance. That welcoming infrastructure will help them successfully transition to new lives in Canada and to stay in the communities in which they arrive, Hussen said. So like I say, while the government was spending, I'm just going to use once again myself for the example, while big government and their mindless enforcers were finding ways to fucking ruin my life and destroy any chance or ability for me to stay in this, my own community, my own rural community, and take care and sustain the welfare recipients, the fucking drug dealers and the losers, and those that are so inept that they seemingly can't do anything. I was one of the few people that were taking care of these dumbasses by being a productive member in that community, but big government found a way to fucking destroy my ability to even do that. So while they're destroying the lives of Canadians, naturalized Canadians, with a lot of history and multiple generations going all the way back to the founding of this country that has lived on that part of the country, where they're saying, Fuck these guys. We're not going to do anything with them. Matter of fact, they're going to constantly, well, like I say, what am I, 7 years? Actually, a little more than 7 years passed when my incident happened where they fucking used collective mandatory minimum punishments because I had a few beer on my ATV to destroy my livelihood and make sure that I couldn't live in that rural community because there was no way for me to seek out any job opportunities. Yeah, you want to tie my hands and feet behind my back and say, here, go ahead and function, right? Yeah, sorry if I can't do that, so I had to travel elsewhere to fucking seek out job opportunities like most Canadians from that part of the country, the East Coast, the have-not provinces had to do. But once again, Hussen saying, fuck you, Bennett. And to this day, I've been trying to figure out how am I going to get my life back on track where I could possibly get back there. Because, like I said, government's made it so you can't even apply for a pardon until 7 years. I've got a criminal record. They're making it so that I have to start out as if I was starting from a new license. Even though I've got 1 million miles on my book, so go out and go through the written test, then wait till you make the road test, then I got to rent a truck to do the road test, then, you got to make sure you have a trailer, but they're making me go through the entire process. Meanwhile, how do you work and function when you're trying to do that? Because that all costs money, but since you're not working at the time, how are you going to pay for it? Nobody's giving me no free handouts, nor would I fucking want any from government, but nobody's offering to help me out. Matter of fact, every time, like I said, I've tried to whether it's the courts, the government, or Service New Brunswick to try to get my situation figured out. Nobody gives a fuck about me. Everyone's more or less, oh, well, that's just tough, man. That's the way it is. Sorry, that's policy, that's procedure. But for fucking people coming to this country that have no history, no background, no roots whatsoever, Hussen and the Trudeau Liberals, here, whatever the fuck they can throw at them, here you go. What can we do? Let me bend over backwards, forcing the Canadian taxpayer or people like Bennett that have been fucked over. Let's force Bennett to pay another portion of his income to prop up these fucking people while we keep punishing, penalizing him for basically nothing. Like I say, Canada, I don't know how the fuck, I don't even know how most people allow this shit to go on. Like I say, I'm baffled on a daily basis to the fact that where have all the real men gone? Why are most people so willing to allow this to happen? Is it the soy? Is it the fluoride in the water? I don't know, and I'm definitely not a conspiracy theorist, but Jesus Christ, there's got to be something that's underlying that's preventing the Canadian people from standing up and allowing this kind of shit to happen. We know the faster newcomers get these tools, the faster they can contribute to Canada, he said. Hussen said immigrants will be chosen for the pilot based on matching their skills to the local needs of their communities and could come from any other number of professions, from truck drivers to teachers to lab technicians. He estimated that about 3,000 people and their families could participate in the pilot. The pilot is styled after a similar program in Atlantic, Canada that launched in 2017 and was deemed successful in helping to fill labor gaps across the region. So once again, what is it? Big business? These organizations that represent business in Canada, is it they're saying, we can't afford to pay what Canadians would deem a livable wage, what naturalized Canadians would deem as a livable wage. So hey, who's saying, hey, bring in a lot of these people from these foreign countries because we'll be able to pay them a whole lot lower rates of pay, right? So once again, Hussen, the Trudeau Liberals, are constantly showing that they're more than willing to screw over successive generations, completely upend demographics, destroy family structures. Well, they're basically, like I say, on a rampant tear, destroying everything that represents typical historical Canadian culture. For what? For what? What? An increased GDP? Or the pretense that we're showing the UN that we're so much better than some other countries for virtue signaling? As far as how many migrants or immigrants they bring to this country? Like I say, they're looking to fill these gaps with people that aren't even from this country. Could you imagine if you did that in your own household? Could you imagine what that would do if you showed absolutely no loyalty whatsoever with anyone in your family, your extended family, or your community, where you're just more than willing to forgo every one of them and just seek to find someone else to fill that gap, fill their position because, hey, you can get them cheaper, or they can be bought off much easier, or hey, government will bring them right to your door for you. This is not going to work out well, folks. This is the kind of stuff that civil wars and civil conflicts are made of. Anyways, I'm not going to read any more of this shit. I'll place a link to this article in the description of the video below. But Canada, you really need to start doing things. Like this, like I say, how long are you going to wait? What's it going to take? Procrastinate is only showing that at the end of the day, that 800-pound gorilla in the room, it's only gaining weight and getting much bigger. You might want to confront it sooner rather than later. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.